revolved around him almost. So whenever you see him in the movie, that's why he's like how he is. And I love how we saw a little clip of the show a little briefly wherever he slips his hand out of the handcuffs to dismantle the bomb. And he's like, of course I'll help you out, Mr. President.
Oh, wow. I never put that together.
Yeah, that's him.
And that's when Garrett's watching it, James Phelps.
Yes.
From the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Fantastic little role, too.
I like that guy. I like that scene. And I kind of dug how it went back and forth and the kind of different timelines. It was a lot of fun to kind of piece everything together.
Yeah. Through my interviews, Tyler said that the idea came from the psychological implications of having different people connected together. It's not scientific, but thematically, it was a pretty rich idea to find a fun story and character ideas.
And I do love that in this world, he never explains how he's able to make the three connect with brains and different body parts and head spaces and all this thing. It just sort of works. And I like that. I like that better in these pictures. Not once that I think this would never happen. Some of these movies that, but I think there are some of these movies that go for realism, and then they have a moment you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. But in this one, I think anything is game in this world. And I also want to know. So there's a scene with the scientist played by Corey Sorensen. I really liked him a lot, and I liked how he was going to kind of explain how he got to where he was. And I want to know where he went to school. He obviously has dad issues. At the end, when he's like, take that, Dad, that he did this. I mean, this guy can bring people to life. So he went to med school, you think, right? I mean, there's no evil med school. Maybe in this world.
Maybe he did go to an evil med school, but then wouldn't he be more successful?
If he was in an evil med school?
Yeah, if it was like a legit thing, wouldn't he be more of a success? He wouldn't be in a warehouse?
But see, you can't be an evil scientist in a suburb.
They call you up and they're like, hey, so, well, my understanding is you're an evil scientist. We really need this and we need this potion. Would you mind helping a brother out?
When you go to the ER, there's not a very well lit section. That's the nice section. And then there's not like a darkly lit and damp warehouse section. Hey,
you see all these dark curtains and only candles only are the light.
You can get your broken leg fixed in either or. You get your pick. So yeah, there's no, I don't think there's a evil, you gotta operate in a warehouse underneath a legit front. I think he had a legit business and terrible commercials, by the way. He had the legit business, because that's how he has to make money somehow. Yeah, exactly, and then he had his kind of black market body swapping thing going on. But okay, so if Madeline wanted to have kind of the perfect body, so then she transferred herself into two other people into a very scarred up creation where arms pop off.
But she's kind of into it. All the different body parts make one big perfect part.
And that's kind of what she wanted. Maybe that reflects her broken psyche.
Yeah. Oh. See, there you go. No, I love that.
Kelly.
Corey Sorensen said when he first read the script, he said that he thought it was kind of like a feminist Frankenstein. And then he immediately thought, cool, I'm in.
Yeah. These are the fun roles where you get to choose scenery. You get to yell out, the name of an Archimedes, owl cats.
He was also the one that was given the most improv room.
Oh, really? Oh, I guess that makes sense. When he was dragging the big guy along, he's like, I'm going to make a tall guy I'm going to take your spine out and make a short guy taller.
I love whenever he's asked, how big is this place? Vast.
He's like, you're a big person. I bet you have good spare parts. And then, he's like, I'm going to make a short person very tall. I mean, and then I also kind of lurk. I also like how he said, you killed a bunch of my staff and people, but we'll get over it. It's fine. Like, we'll work on it. He doesn't care much about his staff's life. So I would not want to be an employee for this guy.
Yeah, he's pretty fast and loose when it comes with the employees.
But I like that he's totally earnest in being a mad genius. There's no confliction there. Obviously, he's like, take that, Dad. But he's very happy to murder people and take bodies and make weird things.
Well, yeah, it's like he's trying to create a perfect person. Yeah. That's kind of how Corey Sorensen saw the character of the surgeon. He said that the surgeon is trying to create a perfect world or a perfect person.
It's always interesting how much. Have you know the movie Street Fighter with Raul Julia and JCVD?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
He plans on taking over the world by making super soldiers, but they make one very slowly. So like,
What's the return value? By like 2050, you should be done with like at least
you have six people. It's a long-term strategy. I appreciate that about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta. There's a lot of trial and error when it comes to making different bodies and people.
Now, where are the cops during all of this?
Well, obviously, like a lot of these people that are getting taken they don't really have too many friends or people who really care about them.
Oh yeah, you're right, right?
It's only a crime if it's announced.
I guess they established that early on, right? Because you have Jennifer,
you have the party girl, you have Jennifer, who's obviously the only person who really pays attention to her is someone that's already married to another woman.
Who wears a Bluetooth at all times. I gotta tell you, when that guy got killed, because, all right, he was smacking gum, and I hate gum smacking. So he's sitting in the car, gum smacking, they found the biggest Bluetooth imaginable, strapped it on his ear, and then, very rarely in horror films do I like it when characters are created that you're supposed to cheer when they die. Very rarely do I like that when the jerk gets killed. But this one, I'm like, get rid of this guy. Dude smacking gum.
It's like the guy from the Friday the 13th remake. Whenever he gets smoked, you're like, yeah, I'm all right with this.
Oh, the big jerk guy?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm all right with this guy going.
Yeah, yeah. But then when they got him, and then he's with another woman, and then he just turns his back from her when she's like, I don't want you to go. I'm like, man, this guy.
Jeez Louise. One of the things that I thought was funny was that the way that Corey had put it was that the film, they were given a lot of improv, and Tyler gave all the actors room for growth and whatnot. But he said that Tyler was disciplined enough to get everything done so we didn't feel like we were in a clown car. Well, maybe a clown car that was being towed by Tyler.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought that was a great quote that he gave me. He said that everybody had a blast while filming it, which shows very much throughout the production of this film. So there was a lot of laughter, and everyone was in high spirits throughout the production.
I mean, that's got to be in pre-production too. Just getting what you need and knowing it. I mean, how many shows have we been on where it's like, what are we doing next? Well, all right, let's set up a camera somewhere, and you're like, wait, what? But I guess that's the luxury you have when you have $100 million, $200 million budget. When you
can be a little more loosey goosey, I guess. When the budget is tight, you're kind of limited as to what you're going to do.
And I read an interview with him where he mentioned that he started out. So I read this, and he said, when I was at the American Film Institute, I was lucky to work for Roger Corman during the summer, mostly editing and a little directing, which helped me learn to keep things frugal and respect genre while carving out your own voice. Basically, if there's an abandoned building that's going to be destroyed, ask them if you can blow it up for production value, right? Yeah. That's a famous Corman thing. He's like, after that, I was Pedro I know how to say this name. Bogdanovich's assistant, who actually started his career with a great horror movie for Corman called Target. And then he kind of just learned from all these different guys about editing and kind of making cuts. And then he talked to Stuart Gordon, and then Gordon gave feedback on the scripts and viewings. So he had some pretty great mentors on this picture. And I think they taught him probably how to get the bang for your buck. And these guys all respected genre too. This is very much so a genre picture meant for genre fans.
Yeah, I felt that whenever I saw the film, that if you don't understand that the gore and the humor, it's a film that for those type of people, which I absolutely love.
But how many of these movies have we watched that just haven't worked? Right? I thought the acting was solid in here. I thought the effects were fun. I had a good time with this picture, whereas I've watched other ones that have felt just kind of disjointed. Right? They haven't worked. But I thought the acting was excellent by everyone around. You actually liked a lot of the characters going through. The scene when they're in their room, kind of talking about what they like and what they can do. I mean, they did. It is pretty interesting that they dealt with becoming 3-in-1 pretty easily. I mean, you got to make a movie, so who cares? But like the hula hooping, and then the ones like I don't get along with my dad. Like drop that down there pretty quickly.
I can do my own taxes.
Yeah. No, I think there's enough character building moments that I kind of dug in this picture.
Yeah. Everybody meshed together really well. Tyler had told me that his original, what was supposed to be used for the characters was that Jennifer was written a lot like one of his good friends. Ellie is the ditzy blonde, and originally she was supposed to be the relatable one, and she was supposed to make the intelligent decisions, but the world around her is the one that manipulates her and aims her in a bad path. And Madeline was written very differently, but they had various ideas, wound up just letting Maria Blasucci, who was the lady who played Madeline, allowed her to create the character because of what she did during the rehearsals.
And she's done a lot of drunk history.
Yeah, hell yeah, she did. Oh my God. I saw that. She also does her own podcast. She does a podcast for Erios.
Cool. Drunk history. That'd be fun.
Yeah, right. Like every day. That's got to be that's got to be a hoot to be on a regular basis.
I'm too old for that, man. I can't do that anymore. Drunk nap. We got a MacGruber episode coming up, and during the commentary for that film, the director's drinking every time someone says Mac or MacGruber or a variation of his name. And I was thinking about during the podcast, I'm like, no chance. I was like, I'll just do coffee.
The Grave Dancers did the same thing, and by the end of it, they take a drink every time you see a lamp because they had a lot of lamps donated in the Grave Dancers. Have you ever seen that?
I'm telling you, lamps go I've moved lamps around a lot too.
I mean, yeah, they're very helpful. People don't understand in filmmaking that if you overly light something, it's easier to fix that in post as opposed to brightening it up.
Yeah. And also, in a lot of these dark rooms that you have, I mean, you can't be bombing in 12Ks outside of a house if you don't have the budget. So you're going to need a lamp.
Of course. But one of the things that I really liked was that the inspiration for this movie, that it's pretty obvious that it's the 80s and 90s flat stick type of films, such as The Evil Dead, Reanimator, and Dead Alive. One thing that I thought was interesting was that Tyler said he had not seen Frankenhooker prior to making this movie. And Frankenhooker is a lot. I mean, they're very much they're not obviously not identical, but they have a lot of similar moments in them. It was like, that's interesting that he had come up with this movie without seeing Frankenhooker to begin with.
I mean, I can see where the nucleus of this comes from, though, as opposed to the difference between Frankenhooker, right? It's kind of
Frankenstein is the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of Frankenhooker not ripped off, but lovingly paid tribute to Frankenstein, so I guess it's just another take on... Sure. Guys, I want to tell you something real quick. I caught the last 15 minutes of Van Helsing the other day, the 2004 Hugh Jackman picture. Have you watched that movie?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I've seen it, yeah.
It's insane. There's a scene where Frankenstein swings across a bridge on electrical cables, and he flies through a glass window, and then he double kicks a vampire perfectly.
Jesus.
I was watching it feeling like I was in a fever dream, and then Van Helsing's battling Dracula, and Dracula keeps turning into a bat, but every time he turns back into a human, he has his clothes back on. So is it vampire clothing?
That's it. Who would the designer be on that? Just kind of like pop off, on, moving about.
I can roll with most things, but when Van Helsing turned into a werewolf, he just had shorts left. But then Dracula gets his clothes back.
Yeah, like give me back my Union Bays. Dracula has a full outfit on. Like, wait a minute, how did that work out? How come I got the shit end of the stick?
And I don't want to tell you about the ending. I mean, even though it is 16 years ago, but the ending, I made a joke, and I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if they just did that? And then they did that, and we were all just sitting there going, that happened. I think that's the weirdest big budget movie, aside from maybe Aquaman, that's been released since 2000.
Wow. It's been a minute since I've seen Aquaman as well.
You know how many people died at the ending of Aquaman? Aquaman becomes the king of the sea by murdering about 2 million people. And then everyone's like, great, Aquaman. Like, that's how you unite kingdoms, is you kill about 70,000 crab creatures in one foul swoop.
As he just turns to the camera and then shrugs his shoulders.
And then during the kissing scene, ships are blowing up all over the place. All he had to do was just, guys, I have the trident. But instead he just kills the living shit out of a million people.
But first, let me get this kiss. Then I'll blow up half the kingdom. How else am I going to be king?
That's a gnarly picture, man.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen that, yeah.
What is a hot minute?
I guess that'd be a phrase that's been like a while.
I guess when you and I have stood in some very hot temperatures doing nothing before.
We actually were in the hottest, we shot in the hottest moment that was recorded in Georgia.
So that minute was hot. That hour was really hot.
That 12 hours actually was excruciatingly hot.
And we only did about 2 things that day.
It was pretty rough, but yeah, there was a lot of, it was a long hot day.
It was finding cover.
So,
back to the movie.
Back to the movie. Part of my interview I did with Chris Lee Hill, who was one of the co-writers, and he told me that he had met Tyler while they were at university in Canada at a film club. It turns out that they had a lot in common, such as they used to make a lot of films on camcorders, and they were both from small towns. So they instantly hit it off. He said